Welcome back to the Menopause Movement podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Gordon. Today, we are joined by Meaghan Faragasso. Meaghan specializes in custom nutrition and fitness programs for busy women. And during the interview, we discuss what brought Meaghan into helping women love their bodies, what motivation is, and what the best motivator is, how she starts every client with a metabolic reset, the foods she cautions against, and why, how she treats women with thyroid issues specifically, the importance of making a program that results in behavior change easy to follow, the tools she gives her clients, like how to order in a restaurant and not feel like that person, why alcohol and weight loss don't mix, and some of its negative effects on the body and the mind, the best exercise for weight loss and why, and what to do to increase your metabolism. Now, at the end of the episode, make sure you visit drmichellgordon.com/podcasts. That's with an S. So drmichellgordon.com/podcasts, PODCASTS. Don't forget the S, where you can find the show notes plus the links to the books and resources mentioned in the episode. Now, if you enjoy this episode, make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you are always the first to know when each episode is released. And thank you for all the 5-star reviews. I appreciate them. And if you have questions about the topics covered in this or any other podcast, I invite you to open a conversation with me on Instagram at Dr. Michelle Gordon. That's at DrMichellGordon. I promise I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And yes, it will be me. Now let's go on to the interview with Meaghan. Thanks so much for being a part of the menopause movement. So welcome back to the Menopause Movement podcast. Today, I am joined by Meaghan Faragasso. Meaghan Faragasso. And Meaghan is a personal trainer who helps women all over the world to get the body they want. So how did you get into this?
Ooh, well, how did I get into the nutrition side of it, or
Whatever,
well,
any side
I
of
got
it.
it. Yeah, I got into wellness actually um, when I was pretty young. I suffered from anorexia, and I was
Okay.
hospitalized. And through that experience, I had a awakening where I felt if um, I kind of made a pact that if I was able to get out of the situation I was in, if I was able to be released from the hospital and not have any kind of issues with food again, then I would dedicate the rest of my life to helping other women appreciate and care for their bodies. And so that's what I did. And so I spent the rest of my life learning how to educate myself on nutrition and wellness and how to help other people in their journeys. And I think I happened to have been blessed at that time too with the gifts, a couple gifts that happened to help me along the way with that ability to see situations by looking at pictures, see scenarios that could be issues in people's bodies that they are not aware of.
Okay, so you said that you see from pictures
hmm
of women's bodies issues that they may not be aware of. And my question for you on that is that from experience or is that from intuition?
I think it's a combination of both.
Okay.
I think it's a combination of both, and I find that a lot of times what happens is the more dissatisfied we become with our bodies, the more we kind of disconnect with them. And oftentimes we don't see things that someone like me coming into the picture can see as well. Because we often avoid mirrors and things like that. So we don't see
Yeah.
things are changing.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're still in your 30s, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
39.
Okay. All right. So, well,
Yeah.
because the average age of menopause is 51, and I'm 55. And the reason I have you on is because the biggest complaint, one of the most common complaints that I hear from women, is that I just can't shift the weight. And there's so if you are a woman who's struggling with her weight, this podcast episode is for you, because we're going to talk a little bit about what some things you can do to try to shift the weight. For me, and I don't know if this is something that you see with most of the women you work with who are in my age group, but I find that if I don't do some exercise, and it's usually a combination of cardio and weights, I won't. It doesn't matter how much. If even if I decrease my calories, I won't lose much weight. I actually have to do exercise, and so I've taken to, I've got a triathlon coach who assigns workouts, and I have Trainer Road, and I have to see. I mean, I've put this on my lives in the past. So if you've seen my lives, I show people what the difference between what motivation looks like and what motivation doesn't look like. Because when you don't do your workouts in Trainer Road, they're all red, and
Mm-hmm.
when you do them, they are green. And so, so we talk a little bit about the motivation myth and how, motivation comes from actually taking action rather than um, waiting for something to happen to us, right?
Sure.
So when you work with women in my age group, what's the first thing that you do with them?
Yeah. So I think to the point about motivation, one of the most important things is a lot of women have tried a lot of things and to do things on their own and are very frustrated. So it becomes very important that they feel a win because the best motivator is progress, right? So you
Hmm.
able to see that you're working hard and then you're seeing rewards for your effort. So to me, it's I start all of my programs with what I call a metabolic reset, which is just basically it's a quick win. So you're losing a lot of inflammation. There's some fat loss, but there's also a lot of inflammation. But you're losing, seeing the numbers on the scale change drastically, which can is very motivating. You see a reward for your efforts, and also you're able to see how much your food affects your energy and your sleep and your joint pain and things like that. And we're also able to kind of reset some of the damage that I think has happened over time that just our lifestyles and living have created for us. So
Yeah,
I
that's for
always
sure.
start, yeah. So I always start with that part of the process before I get into really customizing the program. And it's really important to see that there can be that instant that win that kind of keeps you motivated, like, okay, things can change, I can make a difference, I'm not stuck here.
Yeah, that's great. You said that whatever people eat, the food can affect the energy and inflammation and joint pain. Are there certain foods that you immediately get people off of?
Yes, I have found, I didn't want to believe it for a while, but I have found that for the majority of people there is some type of dairy intolerance, so that the dairy causes some inflammation in their bodies, and the gluten, and I didn't it's not even really gluten per se, but it's the bastardized wheat that has just caused all types of, not just intestinal issues for people, but joint pain and inflammation in their bodies and inability to really thermogenically utilize energy properly, mm, and issues with skin, all kinds of things
Yeah.
that typically seem to be an issue.
What I like to say about dairy is that it's the perfect food for a baby cow.
Absolutely.
And what's
Absolutely.
interesting when you look at dairy, I mean, I'll still eat some dairy. I'll eat some fermented dairy here and there, but um, what what I and the reason I do it isn't because it's good for me. It's because I really like it,
Yep.
and so I'll deal with those consequences when they come. Um, but I as the milk from a mother cow is designed to take a, newborn cow, which is what, maybe 30 pounds to 300 pounds in a year, or, however much they weigh.
Yeah.
And so as the baby matures, all the hormones in the milk change to increase, you know, the type of milk changes. And what happens is that, and what's really cruel to me, because I've been to plenty of dairy farms, is that, they breed these cows and then they just immediately take the baby away from the mother. And so it's really kind of cruel.
Yeah.
Um, but then also you talk about the the American version of wheat, because it's
Mhm.
really interesting. I travel a lot, and when you go to France, it's hard to go to France and not have pastries and sugar and
Mhm.
croissants
Right.
and those sorts of things.
Baguettes.
And yeah, baguettes
Mhm.
and their butter, even butter, which is dairy. But the
Mhm.
difference is that they don't cause the same types of joint pain because they have a different type of wheat and they don't have Roundup Ready grain like we do.
Yep.
Um,
And I think
that's
sprouted wheat often causes less problems as well for people. But, it's a lot of my clients have autoimmune diseases. A lot of
mhm.
them have thyroid issues. And those clients in particular, I find that the wheat is even more important.
Can you speak to that a little bit? Like, so
Mhm.
why? I mean, you're talking about many of the women who have it's not like an acquired hypothyroidism because they had their thyroid out. It's more of a
Right.
Hashimoto's, like an
Mhm.
autoimmune
Yeah.
thyroiditis that
Mhm.
makes the body, just because of environmental stuff, the body
Yeah.
starts eats away at the thyroid and it's not as functional.
Right.
So what do you find for those women? A lot of them will say, I can't lose weight because I have hypothyroid. But once you replace the thyroid with synthroid or armorthyroid or whatever, then you normalize the thyroid, you make them euthyroid, and they still can't lose weight. So how do you address that?
Yeah. So the problem is that most of the time doctors will look at the numbers and they don't look at symptoms. So for me, I address symptoms rather than just looking at, well, my TSH is good. Oh, well, my T4 is good. My T3 numbers are fine. Especially with something like Hashi's, where you're looking at it from the point of it's constantly going like this, right? So you may take a screenshot of it, like this little snapshot, and then, oh, my numbers are fine today, but next month you're in hyper, you're in hypo, and so what I find is that um, we address we address the symptoms. So if you are still feeling the lethargy and the bloating, and you're having the brain fog and things like that, those are it doesn't matter what your numbers say. It matters how you feel and how you're able to function your life. So we work on changing your nutrition in order to find what the right macronutrients are for you, the right micronutrients, the way the foods that your body assimilates well, so that you're not feeling like you're underwater.
You're talking to women about their symptoms, so you're checking in with them regularly. Are they filling out some sort of a form for you, or
No, so for my clients, I do coaching calls every week. So
okay.
at the end of every week, we have a coaching call set up, and we go over the wins for the week, the struggles. We go over energy levels, any kind of reactions. We talk about compliance level, compliance being really important, not so that I can shame you, but
Yeah,
it's so that I can figure out how easy the program is for you. Because if it's not easy, then it's not sustainable.
right.
And so that way I'm able to change things to make it so that it fits into your lifestyle so that it doesn't feel hard. So if you're telling me, well, I'm only able to be 50% compliant, well, it doesn't really matter if I'm on the ideal program for you. It's not sustainable for you. So it's too difficult, whatever is going on. So we will change things to make it so that we can get the same results, and you can still reach your goals while making it something that's going to fit.
Okay. So when it comes to behavior change,
Mhm.
um, you're saying that behavior change should be easy, and that's something that I've been studying quite a bit about. And not only should it be easy, but when we're wanting to make a big change in our lives, so we have 50 pounds of excess weight that we want to take off, or excess fat, say. I think one of the biggest things is to make sure that we plan for temptations, plan for when the failures are going to happen, and how we get back up. And you have group coaching calls, right? You don't do one-on-ones.
I do one-on-one.
You do one-on-one every week with each person. It's hard to scale.
Yep, it is. It is.
Okay.
uh,
So you work one-on-one with people. You don't work in groups.
Correct. At this time,
Okay.
I have tried to work in groups before, and I found that there was less honesty. People were sometimes ashamed to mention in the group something personal or how they really were doing, and
Yeah.
so they were less honest, and so I couldn't keep them as accountable. And so what I do is I take up on a much more limited amount of clients now, and I give them a higher caliber of
Yeah.
one-on-one.
No, that's really good, and you probably get a lot of really good results. What I've done in the Menopause Movement membership is that we have group coaching calls every week, but we also have the option to that people can upsell to a private coaching option where
Mm,
they can access me via the platform. And so
mm,
it's it's private. Nobody else sees it but me and that person. And so when they're afraid to bring up their very personal issues, because we do a lot on behavior change and adapting to, especially the changes that life brings as we
yeah,
start to struggle with our identity. Menopause can be an identity issue. We don't, we may have like all of our kids. You just had a baby, but those babies grow up and they leave. And
yeah,
and it
yeah,
and it it makes us, kind of sometimes it can be really heart-wrenching for us to, like, find our identity after that, and so, or if there's skeletons in our closet of, you know, things in the past that have happened, sexual abuse or domestic violence or things like that that people don't wanna talk about in public, and so they get the option to chat with me privately about that, and it's a much safer space. And they don't have to bring that up in the private coaching, and so that's
mm,
one way
mm,
that we can scale. So you meet with them one-on-one, and you do your okay, so I'm gonna get rid of group coaching, as I wrote down group coaching, but it's one-on-one. I mean, listen, if you guys want a personalized diet plan from Meaghan, we're gonna hook you up in the show notes on how to get a hold of her. So one thing that I've noticed in my life, and I don't know what your experience is with this, but when it comes to my mood, I've found that the more I eat things that are fried in a restaurant, the more I lose motivation. And I've hooked the use of vegetable oil with, like, my decreased moods. And I'm a big proponent of, like, cutting out all vegetable oil because not only does it it increases inflammation, it disrupts our epigenetics. There's a lot of things about manufactured oils that are just really
mm,
bad. And of course, it's a almost uniquely American thing because
mhm.
because we're the land of the corporation and the home of the profit. So
Mhm.
so how do you address that in your program?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can well, sometimes what I also will do is I find that people are pretty open to learning new ways of ordering food when they go to restaurants through an educational process. So a lot of times there's this fear of being the weird girl, right? The one who's ordering differently from their friends, or so it's a certain type of social confidence that has to be acquired to ordering your food, because to me it doesn't matter if you're weird, if you're going to be sick, like you have to, people have allergies too, and for you this is an allergy, this makes you sick. So it's
Yeah.
really important that you take it like that. You understand that and you treat it as such. It's not like, well, it's the holidays, let me have some as well. It's this, well, I'm out to eat. Well, it's this is your health, you can't do what everyone else can do. So I go through a process of teaching how to order food in a restaurant and how to, that it they're willing to prepare food how you need it. And I think that slowly that confidence can be built, and then I have some clients who will even start ordering for their friends so, because they become so confident in doing such. I think that's a huge portion of it is people, I same thing with alcohol. I alcohol, a lot of people think, well, it's just the calories that are affecting me, and they don't understand the hormonal effects, the effects on their metabolism or their protein synthesis or things like that. And so I give them tools of how you can still go out and be social and be in these environments and not have people question you, have a soda water with lemon and lime and walk around with that so people aren't asking, well, why aren't you drinking? And you don't even have to have that conversation.
Yeah, no, that's really good. When it comes to ordering in a restaurant, one of the things that I learned quite a while ago is that a menu is really just a list of ingredients. And if you look at it as that, then, remember you're the paying customer. And if you're going to tell them, look, I can't have this, I can't have that, you just tell them it's an allergy and they'll
Yep.
accommodate you because they want your money. But let's talk a little bit more about alcohol because I don't drink now. And I don't drink by choice because I found that when I did drink, it interfered with my spiritual progress. That was really it. It wasn't so much about, alcohol definitely is a weight loss killer without question. If you're gonna have a really hard time losing weight if you drink. It doesn't matter if you drink vodka or brandy or
Right.
wine. Any of it is going to interfere with your weight loss. But what I did notice is that when I did have a drink, doing the meditation was harder. And the other thing I like to talk about is that, I smoked a lot of pot when I was a kid. It was just the thing to do back in the
Mhm.
70s and 80s.
Mhm.
And I when I was 15, it was great. And then as an adult, like in my 40s, I tried it again. And I was like, "Oh, I hate how this feels. I feel so paranoid and awful." And
Yes.
I could
Mhm.
and I was like, "Man, I feel like a teenager again. This is not the way I wanna feel." And
Yeah.
so it's really a no-brainer for me. I don't smoke pot because I hate the way that stuff makes me feel.
Yeah. I'm so the same way.
I do like CBD teas. I like the CBD honey pops. I mean, if I'm having a little bit of pain, I'll use a little CBD. But mostly I do it because it's kind of a fad now, not I don't know how much relief I get from it. But
Yeah.
we sell CBD oil in the clinical office, and people swear by it for pain, and that's great. I mean, but it's just not. I don't. And actually, I did a whole podcast with a CBD person about how CBD for menopause. But when it comes to alcohol, I was like, I really like how I feel when I'm drinking. I get kind of happy and giddy.
Mhm.
And then I go to bed and I wake up when the alcohol's gone, so it completely disrupts my sleep, and I feel completely awful in the morning, like awful, it's like I lose the whole next day. So for me, it was kind of a no-brainer. It's like, well, I'm not gonna drink now because,
Right.
it's just making me feel horrible. But it was just one decision that I made. But the problem I think with alcohol is that there's so much social stigma around it, and if you don't drink,
Mhm.
people think that you're doing something wrong. And I think we're seeing now a new trend of, alcohol-free bars and that sort of thing. But
Right.
but we have to really have a conversation about alcohol and open up people's minds about the fact that, it's not good. And the reason why they
Not
put it
even.
on in the movies and the TV is because they wanna sell alcohol. The same reason why people smoke. We know smoking
Yeah.
causes cancer, and people smoke on the TV because I mean, I think, they wanna show people doing something, and so there's a way on the TV, it's doing something with their hands that makes it interesting, because if you're just standing there like a lump, it's kinda boring. So they're doing things, they're drinking, but at the end of the day, nobody drinks the way that they drink on TV and movies, and if they did, they wouldn't look the way they do,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it is a neurotoxin, and I think we don't give it as much power as it has. It's not just like you said, it's not just while you're drinking. You don't have to be doing inappropriate behavior while you're drinking or things. But, I know for me, even as I get older, like I said, the brain changes and we respond differently to things. I have like alcohol induced anxiety the next day. Nobody wants that. That affects, like I said, it affects everything in my life. So it affects everything that I'm going to do the next day or maybe the next couple of days. Why would I willingly poison myself? Like, um, it is. very interesting. And the same thing, I've a lot of people, because depressant, have depressive episodes after, drinking, and they don't associate it because when they're drinking, they're not depressed, right? But it's the after effects, and sometimes it takes a while to make that correlation and put two and two together. So it's fascinating, and I think I'm glad that we're having more discussions about it, because it is thought of as TV makes alcohol so sexy, right? It just
Yeah.
the sexiest thing you can consume,
Yeah.
but in reality, it is not like that.
I challenge people to drink a beer every day for 7 days and see what happens to your body.
Mm.
It's or don't. I mean, it's like the equivalent of eating a loaf of bread, almost, or half a loaf of bread every day if you're gonna drink a beer every day, and we all know what happens when you eat bread. I mean, you know.
Mhm.
So one of
Yeah.
the things I saw, one of your videos, and you were, in a grocery store buying pork rinds.
Mhm.
So, are you primarily keto or paleo, or because I think you were talking about keto on that video?
Mhm. No, I am not. I don't prescribe to any diet. I have different clients that have different needs. So every client I have it's individually custom in diet, like nutrition programming. And I have clients that are more insulin sensitive than others. So we keep, they on a much lower carbohydrate diet than other clients. But I definitely don't prescribe to any kind of overall diet like the keto or the paleo or
Right.
that.
Are you still eating pork rinds?
I don't eat pork rinds often, no.
My dogs eat them.
Yeah.
We put them in the dog food, but, they're tasty and they can fulfill that crunch, but they're still very calorically, dense,
Mhm.
you
Yep.
know? But at least you're frying it in a natural fat. That's the one thing. So
Mm.
as Dr. Kate Shanahan likes to say, the nature doesn't make bad fats, and so we like to tell people to use natural fats and not those manufactured fats like
Absolutely.
cottonseed cottonseed oil and the stuff that they use in McDonald's. After one use of that stuff, it's toxic. It's
Yeah.
just awful. So,
The flashpoint
um,
is,
so what's your onboarding process like? I mean, do you have people go through like a survey or a quiz or something to find out where they are right now?
yep, I, send a preliminary questionnaire
Uh-huh.
and, find out all about, what their goals are and what they're looking to accomplish, you know, where they've been, what they're dealing with, what kind of, limitations they might have, how ready they are to make a change. And, then I set up an initial, uh, call, and that's just where I kind of find out if and how I can help them. So we delve a little bit deeper in their goals and what's really going on than a questionnaire actually covers. And then from there, I do a second call with them just to kind of explain if I think that they're what I recommend for them, or who else I want to refer them to that I think would help them better. And that's pretty much
Yeah.
how the onboarding process.
That's kind of a neat process because you're able to, get them, kind of where they are and get an idea of their true motivation, and it's so important when it comes to behavior change that the benefits outweigh the benefits of change outweigh the benefits of not changing, or else, you're never gonna change. And for those of us who, have struggled, with our weight over the years, one of the things I've realized is that I've said just this once for the last 15 years. And so just this once can become, this habit that, well, I've got this party and that party and this, and so just having the motivation in a sense, or the impetus for change, and seeing that we can, I mean, seeing that you can do it is the biggest step, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really important.
And it creates a confidence, a type of confidence that then is unshakable. And then I was like, well, if I can do this, and I didn't think I was capable of doing it. It happens in the gym too. I didn't think I could ever run, 1 mile, and I could run 1 mile when I tried. So now what else could I do that I didn't know
Right.
that I could do, right? And so I'm like just overcoming those small goals that we set, and then we're able to realize what else could we do that I just didn't even attempt doing because I didn't think I could do.
Right. So we're
Very
what we're
empowering.
doing in these changes is we're busting all these limiting beliefs that we have created by, throughout our lives by growing up. And
Yep.
then there's this big ripple effect that can happen when you take a risk on yourself or you invest in yourself. I think the bigger issue is that women, um, for some reason, women don't invest in their education as much as men do, and we see women, in need, and obviously we have businesses around this, both of us, and it's like, well, we can help you, but then what I see a lot is that women will say, well, it should be free because it's menopause, and I'm like,
Mm.
well, if you don't pay attention.
Yep. Absolutely.
Women
Absolutely.
who pay, people who pay attention, and
Yep.
the transformation starts with the transaction. And so there's, if you're somebody who doesn't want to invest and you want to consume free content, that's great. That's why we have the podcast. But if you really want to make a change, then, taking action and joining the menopause movement membership, or calling Meaghan and going to her website, which is what, Envy This Body. I love that. And setting up a call with her, that's how you make a change. That's how
Yeah.
you really get started. But we all have to make a living. So I love how you check to see if they're ready for a change. And do you do any sort of like blood testing? Do you work with their doctors at all? Do you ask them to go and check their hormones?
That's a great question. I often do have them do a full metabolic panel with their
Mhm.
doctor, and send me the results for that. I would like to eventually have and because it works best that way because for them to go to their doctor, because I do have clients all over the country and some outside the country and other countries as well. So it works out. It's pretty simple to put in a request to get a metabolic panel and then send me the results.
Right. Well, that's really cool. So what is your do you have like nutrition training or
So I have some certifications, but most of it is just experience, self-taught. I have education in. I have about pretty much as many certifications as you possibly could get.
That's awesome. And then let's talk for a second about exercise, because we know that diet is, 80 to 90% of the formula. And when it comes to weight loss, we have to really pay attention to our diet. You're a macro counter. Not everybody counts macros. Some people just count calories. But at the end of the day, there's a couple of schools of thought, right? There's the school of thought that says that as long as you don't eat toxic foods, it doesn't matter how much you eat. And then there's another school of thought that says, it doesn't matter what you eat if you want to have diet soda and things like that, as long as you keep your calories down. So before we talk about exercise, let's just address that for 1 second.
Sure, I think it's not either all or nothing. You can disrupt your hormones by eating toxic foods, and so it does matter what you eat. However, also the amount that you eat matters. You can't eat copious amounts of healthy food; it then becomes unhealthy because if you're over consuming calories, you will still. I actually have a lot of board certified nutritionists who come to me because they understand nutrition, but they do not understand weight management.
Right.
And so there's trying to get all of your micronutrients in your food is one thing, but then if you still don't understand how portions and calories in, calories out, calorie expenditure and thermogenesis and things like that, you still will have an issue with weight, which we still know causes health problems.
Yeah, right. Okay. So so you actually are calculating TDDE and all of those things for them. Yeah. Okay. And so let's talk about exercise, because one of the things that happens for some women, and I'm one of them, is that I can do cardio all day long and I don't get sore. And I like I said, I have a triathlon coach. He assigns the workouts. I'll do, these hard bike workouts. I'll do hard run workouts. I'll do swim workouts. But the minute I start picking up weights, I'm great for the first 2 days, and then by the 3rd day, it's like I can't move. A delayed onset muscle
Like,
soreness.
huh?
And it's I mean, it's bad. And then after I would say after about 2 weeks of doing consistent weights that I'm okay, and it's not so bad, but it is so uncomfortable. Like, if I do,
Mm,
you know, 50 squats with a 30-pound kettlebell, and then 20, like 2 days later, I can't sit down to go to the bathroom.
yeah, yeah. So your nutrition can make a big difference with the recovery process, and that I've found is does reduce the DOMS and any kind of muscle soreness, not just the delayed onset, but any type of muscle soreness. When you're able to have a really good recovery meal quickly after your workout, you're recovering better. You don't keep becoming so you're not catabolic consistently after your workout for a long period of time. So you start the recovery process and the anabolic process quickly after your workout. You're able to recover faster. You have less of that soreness.
All
That's
right,
by
so
far
just
the
just for
best.
the audience, catabolic is muscle breakdown and anabolic is muscle building. And so when we do a lot of weightlifting, we're causing little micro tears to so that we can build more muscle. And as you know, afterwards, as Megan said, you want to make sure that you eat the right kinds of foods for recovery. There was a fad there where people said to take a lot of BCAAs afterwards, and that would help with DOMS. And now I think BCAAs are kind of falling out of fashion so much.
Yeah.
The latest research I've seen is that a woman after an intense weight workout or even an intense cardio workout should have about 4 ounces of protein.
Mhm.
And I don't know, are you is that something you
Yep.
agree with? Or
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And then often I still recommend a carbohydrate as well, which I like banana because it's full of potassium. It's high glycemic in terms of, I mean, it has more glucose than fructose, so it's better for muscle recovery. But the protein piggybacks on the back of the carbohydrate and can shuttle into the muscle for faster recovery. So you do get a better recovery with when coupling the protein with a carbohydrate, and
I'm
that
gonna try that. I'm gonna try like how I don't eat a lot of bananas
Mhm.
because I find that there's two foods that if I eat too much of, I tend to gain weight, and one is dairy, and the other is carbs. And so
Mhm.
I don't eat a lot of fruit, and I don't eat I try not to eat much dairy
Yeah,
unless it's fermented, and then I'll have like a tablespoon or something of sour cream or maybe a
yeah.
little cheese like once in a while. So this is interesting because I could have like half a banana, I think,
Mhm.
and some
Yep.
chicken
Yeah.
after a weight
Mhm.
workout, and we could see if that would work.
Yeah, it'll make a big difference, and it's your body utilizes the carbohydrate different post-workout than it does any other time, so you're not getting the same type of, your body having this insulin response and trying to store it in your liver or your fat cells.
Yeah.
It's because your body's so depleted of glycogen after your workout that it's gonna, it would just help the recovery process.
Yeah, that's good. So how do you feel about like do you know who Steve Finney or the Finney and Volek are? They wrote okay, so they wrote this really interesting booklet called let me think if I can remember the name of it. It's about low carb performance, basically. So Finney and Volek, and I can't remember the name of the book. We'll look it up and make sure we hook it up in the show notes. But what they did was they took a bunch of cyclists and they put them on a very low carbohydrate diet, and then they
Mhm.
measured their performance and found that they're so these guys are eating a lot of natural fats
Yep.
and natural proteins. So they're still a way, not eating a ton of crap food, right? This is good
Yeah.
food. These are professional cyclists,
Yes.
and what they found is that these low carb, high fat athletes had more stamina and they never bonked.
Yes.
They never bonked because they were
Yeah.
able to.
They're fat
There's
adapted.
40,000 calories available, even to an athlete who has 6% body fat at any time.
Yeah. So that's a fat adaptation. So they're already fat. So it would take a couple of weeks to become fat adapted. And once they become fat adapted, your body starts utilizing it's sort of like you start utilizing the fat for fuel very efficiently.
Mhm.
And in that case, when you're delaying your human growth hormone usually increases, testosterone can increase, but it's you have to be fat adapted for that scenario to work, which can take way. Some people it takes a lot longer than 2 weeks, and
Right.
everyone's different. So if someone that doesn't regularly eats moderate amounts of carbohydrates and then they decide to just go have no carbohydrates the next day and do on a long bike ride, that's not going to work for them.
Right. Yeah,
It
that
has to be
it
someone
does
that's
take
already
time.
fat adapted. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, it takes time, and there's ways to check you're looking for ketones in the blood, and there's ways to
Mhm.
check that. And the thing is that it's not easy to maintain, I think. I've done it.
Yeah.
I did that for several years, months, I guess, at a time, and I'd have the purple strips and and the high ketones of like
Mhm.
1.5 to 2, and they'd be higher after a run. They'd be in the fives. But the bigger issue is this, like, there are things I like to eat, you know? I like oat bran, which is low glycemic, but, can fill you up, and I like bread here and there, and just one piece of bread can ruin your ketosis
Yeah.
for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so it's I mean, I'm not a professional athlete. It doesn't matter, whether I have carbohydrates or not. If I were a professional athlete, I would probably be a fat adapted athlete because I feel better. My brain feels better when I'm fat adapted. But I
Yeah.
wouldn't, and now I just like, oh, I don't care. Right now I'm just counting calories and trying to I gained 20 pounds between May and July. So right now it's December. This is going to probably not air until February, but I've been religiously counting calories and
Mhm.
not so much macros, but counting calories so that I don't gain any more weight, and
Yeah.
hopefully will drop the extra that I gained and a little more.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. It has to work for you, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not I tried not to count calories, I didn't want to,
Mm.
but then I found I wasn't having any change, and so I sat down and I said, "Okay, what do people who are successful do?"
You can't measure
And
it, you can't manage it.
yeah, yeah. So
Mhm.
I like, okay, this isn't working. What's going to work? I've got to change my behavior, and so that's what worked for me. But
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that if I want to say that for anybody who's listening to this podcast has been struggling with their weight, give Meaghan a call, give Meaghan a go to envythisbody.com. And again, I wanted to, before we do that though, I wanted to hear from you about like what kinds of exercises do you prescribe? Because, I think a lot of women who are thinking about losing weight are afraid of exercise.
Mhm. Sure. So I always lean on the side of resistance training. Not only is it good for our bones, but it's the only thing that really will transform the metabolism. So, you have the exercise post oxygen consumption, which means if you're on a treadmill running for about 3 to 5 hours afterwards, you're going to be burning extra calories because your metabolism is going to be elevated. When you're doing a resistance training, because of the repair that's needed for your muscle recovery, it's going to be 24 to 36 hours afterwards that you're going to have an elevated, after the activity, the exercise, that you're going to have an elevated metabolism. So add that to the fact that every pound of muscle that you put on your body, you're going to burn an extra 50 to 100 calories a day when you're sedentary, let alone when you're working out. It allows the body, you can get away with eating a couple more calories here and there and still stay leaner if you have just 2 pounds more of muscle. We're not talking about putting on massive amounts of muscle here, but just a couple pounds. And
Mm.
as we age, because of our hormones, we have to work harder at keeping that muscle mass.
So women are afraid of weightlifting because they don't want to get bulky. Can we
Right.
bust that myth real quick?
Sure. Yeah, because we don't have testosterone, we're not going to put on massive amounts of muscle mass. But just like I said, just putting on 2 pounds of muscle, or even maintaining 2 pounds of muscle, because we would naturally atrophy some as we age. because we become more sedentary. So kind of combating that with some resistance training, we're keeping 2 pounds of muscle, which allows our metabolism to burn at a higher rate. So we're burning maybe an extra 100 to 200 calories a day, every day, just by having that muscle mass on our bodies.
Yeah, that's the key. And we do make some testosterone, even after and menopause. Remember the ovaries do make some testosterone, but we don't have the same amount as men. That's why we
Not
don't
enough.
have as much
Yeah,
facial hair
right.
and body hair. Although we could argue that menopause causes mustaches. But anyway, all right. So listen, if you want to have an individualized plan to shape your body and get into the best shape of your life, then check out envythisbody.com. Set up a call with Meaghan, and she's gonna hook you up with a brand new body, in which will be pretty fun. And
Thank
that's
you.
great. Thanks so much for being on a part of the Menopause Movement podcast, Meaghan. I appreciate
Thank
you.
you so much, Dr. Gordon.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Menopause Movement Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Gordon, and I wanted to take a moment to share what one of our community members has achieved since she's been working with me. Amanda has had an amazing transformation. Amanda was struggling with joint pain, hot flashes, forgetfulness, sleeplessness, weight gain, and an angry mood. In addition, she lost her confidence and self-worth as menopause crept up on her. Since joining the Menopause Movement membership, Amanda's quality of life has improved in ways no one could have predicted. She has truly transcended the symptoms of menopause and is now living her best life. This is what I want for everyone in the community. Take a listen to Amanda's story. I just want to show you what's possible when you join the community and do the work. Transcendence is available for you too. Now here's Amanda.
Hi, my name is Amanda. I am 54 years old and I live in the UK. At this moment in time, I'm in a fairly good place in my life. Recently, I've lost 18 pounds and I feel healthier and more content than I have done in a long time. However, it hasn't always been this way. Back in October 2011, I had an accident which resulted in a serious injury and surgery and subsequently changed my life forever. And over the next few years during my recovery, menopause crept up on me, but I didn't realise what was happening straight away. I started suffering from more joint pain. I went from always being cold to feeling like I was going to internally combust several times a day. I was getting really forgetful. My sleep pattern was terrible. I piled the weight on and looked pregnant, and I felt angry all the time. When things were at their worst, I felt incredibly alone and very down. I lost my confidence and self-worth, and I felt completely misunderstood and confused about what was happening to me. I received very little support or information from my GP, and there was limited information on the internet, but what I really wanted and needed was someone to talk to. The turning point for me was at the beginning of July 2019, when completely by accident, I came across Dr. Michelle Gordon's Facebook page on the menopause movement. At that time, she was doing daily live streams and I started listening to them. I related to a lot of what she was saying and I was really interested in the variety of topics about menopause that she was talking about, the alternative ways to manage menopause symptoms in a more natural way, and how your mindset is the key factor to transforming your life more positively. I was also really interested to listen to the other ladies in the group and what they had to say. Ladies who had been or were still suffering from similar symptoms to me. How a lot of them have been able to manage their symptoms much better and how they have turned their lives around and embraced menopause instead of treating it like a demon. Although nervous about taking a risk to join a group I didn't know, I knew that I couldn't and didn't want to carry on living my life the way I was and feeling the way I was feeling. So I made a decision that I too wanted to learn more about menopause, how to manage my symptoms better, and most importantly, learn more about my mindset and the fact that I needed help with changing my outlook on life in order for me to get it back. Life is nowhere near perfect, and some days I still have my struggles. But on the whole, I can honestly say that I am in a much better place than I have been for a long time. And for my down days, I understand better how to manage them so they don't get out of hand. I am now on a journey with a fantastic community of like-minded women, all of whom continue to support each other no matter where we all live, and I no longer feel confused, misunderstood, worthless, or alone. For me, this group has been both a lifesaver and a life changer, and most importantly, the one-to-one private coaching sessions that are available with Dr. Gordon as part of the membership have been invaluable to me. They provide me with an opportunity to discuss more difficult and private issues that I am struggling with, and an opportunity to find solutions to address them. Without doubt, I can wholeheartedly say that I owe Dr. Gordon and her group everything for showing me how to take my life back and, more importantly, take control of it. Joining her membership has been the best thing that I have ever done. However, this course is not for everyone. If you're looking for a quick fix that doesn't cost you any time, money, or effort, then this is not the group for you. But if you're in a similar situation to how I was not that long ago, feeling desperate and at the end of your tether, but are willing to invest in your own future happiness and peace of mind, but are unsure as to what to do, ask questions and talk to Dr. Gordon. And if you choose to take that leap of faith, you won't regret it, because who wouldn't want to take their life back if they had the chance?
If you are feeling like Amanda, you're not alone. There is help for you in the Menopause Movement membership. I want to help you transcend your symptoms and live your best life. To discover how you can become a part of this life-changing community, go to menopausemovement.com.